Right, on to the second pass. So we've got a fair amount of work to do. We've got some red and yellow flags to check out. We're going to go through and see how happy we are with everything. And I know that I'm going to rework this set of angles again because I don't think the first grade I produced here was particularly good. I think I can probably do a much better job now that I've gone ahead and worked on the other shots first. So the first thing I will do is I'm going to take care of this shot. And here what we're going to do, we're going to take care of the keyframing necessary. In fact, yeah. What I'm going to do there, I'm going to add a node on the end, and then we're going to keyframe this. We have the little diamonds here. This is our keyframing dialog. And I'm just going to get the curves out, and I'm going to fix this odd blue highlight in the top. Then I'm going to bring it down a bit, it's a little bit bright, that highlight only. Okay, that's cool. I can keyframe this other node as well in that case. And then we're going to go boink. Excellent. Okay, I see exactly what to do. So now we've got a node tackling this. One thing, if we turn this node off in the layer stack, it becomes less of a problem. So what we're going to do, we're going to keyframe these off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to go to node number 3. I'm going to go to the node key, and then I'm going to turn its key output to 0, so we lose our blue background, and that kind of highlight there is much less of an issue now. It disappears fairly quickly, so it's not bothering me too much. Now I'm going to go forwards to the point where they turn on the light, which is here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keyframe it. So I'm going to turn the keyframe on for node 3, turn the diamond on, and for node 8 as well. And I'm going to place a dynamic keyframe down here. And then we're going to go until the lights have been turned on, which is this frame. And then we're going to turn the key output to 1 on node 3, making it fully visible, and the key output to 0 on node 8, taking its effect away. And now the effect we have is that that's all fine. We've got some daylight coming in, so that's okay. It's a little bit dark, but then it's meant to be. And then what they will do, they'll turn on the light switch. Boom, there we go, problem solved. So we've now gotten rid of that flag. And I'm going to put a green flag on there. This angle is fine. I might just make it a little bit darker, because if we go from there to there, it might just be a little bit bright. I'm going to bring my scopes back up again, and now I'm just going to bring it down and make it a little bit more foreboding and threatening, because this is of course the final climactic scene of a horror film. Cool, there we go. Let's just see how this edits together. Cool, I'm happy with that. Then they find the office. Now for the most part I'm pretty happy with this. We've got tracking to do here. I'm going to take care of all the vignetting and that in the third pass. I'm going to take care of other things first. This is looking to be a reasonably good match. I might just bring the highlights down a teeny tiny bit more. And just avoid that kind of chocolatey look in the hair. I'm just going to bring the saturation down in my shadows a little bit more as well. Now let's just see how these two edit together. Okay, I think that's much better now. Let's check this angle. I think that's a pretty solid cut. Let's just make sure it's okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm going to vignette that face and bring those eyes out later on, but third pass work. So, let's keep watching until we have a problem. Most of this sequence should be fine. It had very few issues. So we're just going to go through and make sure it's all right. This is cutting together quite nicely. I think it's very... good. That's excellent. There was a bit of a space for that to go a bit wrong, but it's turned out very well. Okay, this one. So this shot is not going to work in its original group because I can't change the garbage mat without affecting all the other shots in the group. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a still, I'm going to remove it from the group, and then I'm just going to copy and paste that grade over, but in this window here, what I am going to do is I'm going to turn off that window, and now we don't have the blue hands. Now the other thing that bugs me here is just how much of a solid black her hair is. So what we need to do is we need to bring some detail back in there, but keep the whole kind of foreboding atmosphere thing, and we just don't want it to change too much. There's some detail in there, it's subtle, but it's there. That's fine. So every now and again we have to make an exception from one clip for it to be for it not to be in a group. Sorry, let me say that again. Every now and again we have to make we have to accept a clip. Every now and again, usually edit these things out, but it's a long video. Every now and again we need to make an exception for a clip if it's not going to fit in with the rest of the group, and this is one of those exceptions. We couldn't have changed the garbage mat down here without getting rid of it in all the shots where it's actually helping us out. So in this case we just remove it from the group and we give it the grade. That's an excellent match now. I'm going to clear that and I'm going to put a green flag on that. And I'm going to go back through all of these shots and I'm going to green flag them all to say that I've gone through, I've watched it through and I'm happy with how it's performing, and now we're going to keep going with the rest of this sequence. See if there are any other issues. Let's just watch it from back here, see if we spot the difference in contrast that we've just imposed. No, that doesn't seem different to me. It doesn't seem different between those two angles. Nope, fine. We're just going to keep going, keep watching until we hit a problem. Okay, this is all working quite nicely. I'm happy with most of this. 4-hour deadline, don't forget, so we're not going to go down the rabbit hole. We're just going to try and get things to look good. Okay, maybe that's a little bit bright. Let me just check these angles out again. No, that's pretty good, actually. I think that's pretty solid. This is going well. Nice. Right, that's the only thing that concerned me, is whether or not that was a little bit off. We've got a yellow flag coming up. That's excellent. Aha, okay. So here, we've got the same contrast issue. The hair's going a bit solid black here. So what I can do is I can just change this. I can leave this in the group because that little window's not a problem. But then what I can do is I can just change up my contrast a little bit here. We just kind of avoid that kind of solid black shape that we can get in the hair. Okay, that's fine. That looks good. That's okay. I will then get rid of that yellow flag. We've got a few yellow flags coming. Okay, that again. I'll just middle click, copy that over. and again. In those angles, there's a little bit of a red spill on the back of her shirt. Yeah, okay, let's see if we can deal with that, actually. Let's, let's remove these from their group. And let's add these into a new group. And that's red shirt spill. And let's see if that's okay there. Let's see if we can get rid of the red-orange spill on the shirt back there. Now we do have a slight difference there. The hair is going to be a little bit greener, but I think it's very hard to spot, and in motion maybe it's not that perceptible. We just need to go back and check. Now that might seem like we're leaving a rough edge in. The truth is, especially on projects like this, on larger projects, there are rough edges. What we do is we have to make a judgment call as to whether or not a rough edge is, and the term we use is perceptible in motion. That means if the footage is playing back, if we're watching this edit for real, can you really spot the difference? Now we are made fully aware that his hair is changing colour very slightly here. The average viewer will not be aware of that. So, watching it through, I actually think that's fine. The bigger issue here was the shirt going red. Okay, I thought I spotted a problem, but instead what we have are just some little blinking lights on the modem back there. That's fine. And that's okay. We've got a little bit of green shimmer in PewDiePie's hair here. Let's just see if we can fix that. I think we said that was probably preferable to the shirt producing issues, wasn't it? Okay, if it's a choice between that and the shirt, I think that's okay. Maybe that's getting a little bit obvious. Okay, let's just see what we can do. Okay, this shot needs a little bit of roto, a little bit of more work. What we will do is we'll remove that from its group. It's just going to stand as an individual shot now. And we just need to fix that. Let's just take a look at what we've got with this bloke here. No, we have too much spill. We've also got that, we don't need that anywhere. We're going to use the advanced matte finesse, and we're going to go to closing, choose circle, radius 2, and we're just going to keep going until we can start to do that, and then we're just going to blur the living hell out of it. Blur hides all sins. And up the clean black, and what we can do is we can just kind of, there we go. That gives us a cleaner key. Okay, so there's bigger problems down here. Okay, there we go, that's much stronger. Right, so that's looking good now. We'll go back and we'll check that again. That's looking pretty solid to me. We've got rid of the holes in the hair, and it's looking good. The the stain, the kind of brown patch on his shirt is justified. It's dried blood. So that's looking okay to me. We've now got this shot, which needs some work. can see if this does anything, but I'm pretty sure that's just going to blow holes in the rest of the key, so let's not do that. I think instead what I might have to do is just a little bit of basic rotoscoping, and there's a highlight up here which is a problem as well. Okay, nothing for it, we just need to rotoscope this shot. So what we'll do, corrector 5, and then we're going to make our roto mask. It's just me knocking the table. We're going to make it outside, and then we're just going to have to go through and change the mask as we move along. This is more time consuming than I would like. Now it's important before we really start keyframing we change our feather, and we do that at the start because otherwise the keyframe will change it every time. We're just going to go back to our first few keyframes. We're going to set that. We're also going to set the fact that it's an outside mask. And we just have to keep going by about 4 frames at a time. I might be able to cheat the rest of this with the tracker, actually. Just make sure we don't overlap the actual skin. That's a bit of a mess, but it's a very simple garbage matte, animated garbage matte, more than rotoscoping. So now we need to go back through, and we need to just watch that all through and make sure we don't get any issues. There's a little bit of yellow trim there, but it's such a fast shot. Boink. You just don't notice it. Now let's just make sure we see the whole thing. Excellent, there we go. We will save. We're going to get rid of that yellow flag. Right, so we got rid of that yellow flag. What we're now going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to mark everything else with the green flag. And we're going to keep going, keep checking the sequence through, remembering to take play on loop off. Maybe on that shot the highlight on the side of her neck is getting a little bit obvious. We'll just remove that from its group. Oh, wrong one. And what we will do is we'll just kind of slightly open that up. There we go. Okay, so here we need to do a bit of a better match. This is okay, it's a little bit too dark. We're going to get our scopes back up. We don't want our background to be too blue. And then here we have our main villain. Spoilers. Now this shot is naturally very green. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to add a hue v hue, and I'm going to just take that green and we're going to try and make it a bit bluer. Let's see if that doesn't make... Nah, it makes some big problems. Okay, so these two cut together quite nicely, but I'm going to redo these angles, essentially, because the problem is the way I've set these keys up, they're a bit too unreliable. And later on we have kind of blue hair, we have a big problem in the later shots from this angle. Let's just make sure that we don't... Also, I might just push this one a little bit further towards blue. There we go, because it was a little bit green. We want to keep the whole kind of blue feel. Okay, these are all cutting together quite nicely. I feel that this angle just needs a bit of a touch-up. Maybe I don't need to redo everything here. Let's just watch it through and see what we think. That's lacking in contrast a little bit. This could be brought down, made a little bit more punchy. Needs to maintain that kind of air of menace. These are kind of magically animated scarecrows that cut people into pieces. Let's just make sure what we've got is okay. What I will do... I'll just make sure I don't get interference in the background there, so we keep that nice kind of cool v warm thing going. Now let's see if I can push this. It's a little bit green right now. Let's see if I can make it a bit better and a bit bluer. And I just want to be careful of this kind of purple I'm getting in the shadows as well. What I might do is go into log, take my low range down and add a bit of green. Just to counteract that, maybe bring my low range up a little bit. Nice. And that's, yeah, a little bit dark down there. I'm going to have to keyframe this shot. I'm going to add a node on the end, and then what I'm going to do, add a keyframe. And then we're going to just grade this. I'll go back to our scope so I can see what I'm doing. And then we're going to go forwards until it's up there, at which point we want it to fade out. We'll put another dynamic in there, and we're going to go key output 0. So we don't really see the shift in focus and the shift in contrast, but then we get the proper kind of contrast down there. Not uncommon on shots which pan from one thing to the next, just a basic technique to keep in mind. What I will do... No, that hasn't worked. Okay. I think what I might just need to do there is make the background blue. Let's just take a look at what I've got. Oh, okay, I see the problem here. Let's just get rid of the greenish parts of the spectrum we've selected. And now I can go back and I can just make... There we go, our background a bit blue. Then I will go back and I will add a little bit of green into the shadows, prevent those jackets from going purple. That also prevent the shadows from going green. Cool. If you can hear jingling in the background, that's just my cat. He's found a mouse to play with, I guess. By play with, I mean tear in half and eat, but what the hell. So let's just take a look. I think I might need to just... Yeah. Okay, I might put a yellow flag on that one, come back to it later on in the third pass. Let's just see how all this works together. Let's redo. Just need to watch out for little bits of chatter on her shirt down there. Okay, we'll yellow flag that and come back to it later on. So now instead we've got a good match. Problems on the shirt, but yellow flags, that's fine. So then what we're going to do, we're going to green flag the rest of these. That's a nice cut. I think what I might just do is I might just crush these mids down a little bit, or take them down. You don't really crush mids, that's the wrong way to put it. Okay, we've got a bit of a blue highlight back there that looks a bit odd. Okay, that might just be something we have to put up with. When we impose black bars on this, that's probably going to be taken out anyway, so that should be okay. We might just take the saturation down a little bit, because she looks a little bit warm there. Okay, that's a good match. So this is looking a little bit green. Just make sure that we maintain blue. We don't want to switch from kind of blue to green. Within it, we might just rotate this 1 or 2 degrees clockwise and make it a little bit redder, because I thought his skin on the right head there looked a little bit too yellow. Let's just watch this through. Okay, I may have been a little bit keen to dismiss this angle. I think it does work quite well. Okay, that's looking a bit green. What we will do is we'll make that blue again. Let's just take a look at that scope. Okay. And that's okay. Let's just see if we can just massage this shot to make it a little bit better. She's looking a little bit yellow. I might just push a little bit of warmth in there. Okay, I think I spotted. Okay, a little bit of a problem on the key on the hair. Let's see what we can do about that. Just we'll have a look at the advanced control, see if we can close this up, circle, and let's just and then just do away with a bit of that blur, see what we get. Right, that looks good to me. Still a bit of a gap in the hair there. Okay, that isn't working. Got a little bit of a reflection issue on his shirt there. Light from his cheek is reflecting onto the shirt and making it appear warmer, and that's then getting picked up by the key. Okay, because he's still there, it's not quite as noticeable, but there's still some issues. Let's just try using the closing Okay. Right, that looks good to me. Let's see if it works for the next one. I think just a little bits of shimmer in the hair are probably okay when we're looking at the fact that it's the skin that's really important there. We'll leave the yellow flags on those and we'll see what we think in the third pass. Let's just see how these two cut together. Maybe that blue's a little bit strong. Okay, this was fine. Okay, there's a bit of a keying error here. Okay, I have a different idea for this shot if that's not going to work. Instead, I've got a better idea. We're going to right click our layer mixer and we're going to say morph into parallel node, and then what we're going to do is we're going to completely get rid of all of this, redo everything. What we're going to do, we're just going to bring our red saturation up a little bit, and we're just going to push our blue there, and then we're going to use this node just to counteract that. I shouldn't have anything like that happening, actually. Give me 1 second. Not entirely sure why I'm getting such a pronounced thing there when I'm only using curves and not a keyer. Huh. Okay, fine. There's a bit of his hair which is naturally very red and sticks out. Okay. Let's see how that edits together then. Okay, I actually think that's pretty good. It's a little bit on the blue side there, so we might just kick it down, get that slight cyan touch back. Okay, that's fine. Every now and again, using the keyer isn't going to work for a shot, so we have to do the best we can with curves. Some of the secondary curves are very good at doing that. And then what we will also do is we'll just make sure that we do that again, because these are very fast action shots anyway. That's a good cut. The skin's a little bit off here. Let's see if we can do anything about that. Okay, I can remove that flag. Just remains to be seen if actually the yellow shirt on this is a little bit much. So what I can do, quickly I'll just set up a shared node. We're going to key out this yellow shirt here, because it's really easy to key. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit so it doesn't break through, and then going to save this as a shared node. I'm going to change the node label. And I'm going to call it yellow shirt desat. And then on those other angles, I'm just going to go, okay, add node, yellow shirt desat, there we go. Takes care of it for me. Very efficient, very easy way of making that adjustment across multiple shots. And we'll do the same here, add node, yellow shirt desat, and boom, taken care of. Okay, some of these are lacking in punch a little bit. I could just add a little bit more contrast. And this is in a group. What I might just do there is pull up the highlights a little bit. Just give it a little bit more punch. There we go. Because we've got quite a nice dark contrast look. What I don't want is for those shots to look a little bit... Okay, at this point, these two shots are a problem. We definitely need to take a look at these, and this is a red flag, so we're going to take a look at these shots. So, what we have here, he's got a bit pink. Okay, it's not great. What we can try and do, let's morph this into a parallel node and see what we can do. So let's go, and we're going to also get rid of that. Okay, that's not helping. Oh, that was worth a try, but clearly it wasn't going to work. Okay. Okay, that skin's looking a little bit pink in that shot. I'm just going to rotate it counterclockwise 2 degrees, make it a little bit more yellow. That's better. In the previous shots, he may have been. I think we may have changed that a little bit earlier. There we go. He's a little bit more warm there. In fact, that shot doesn't belong in that group because obviously we're getting the problem with the garbage on the right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove it from the group. I'm going to take that still. And on there, and then we'll just track that, and then we're going to do the same thing here. And then we're probably going to have to handle these other ones individually as well because there's some tracking involved, so we'll just break those out of their group. Okay, now those two angles look pretty good. Let's just see what we have here. Let's watch it through from this point. The blue might be a little bit strong in these now. We can pull it back, which is going to help us out a bit when... there we go. Let's just go back to the previous ones. What we'll do is we'll just pull back a little bit on the blue here because it was a little bit strong, and that is making the joins between more obvious. That's a yellow flag. We'll come back to that in third pass. And now we just need to go back and tone these down. That was a little bit full on before. Then we'll do the same here. We'll just tone this down. Okay, in this case, yeah, he does, I think, jump into. But because we've now toned our key down, you don't actually see the issue that causes. Okay, we've got a bit of odd animation there. Let's just check why that might be. Oh, it's because the shot is animated, that's why. So this window was to deal with the red spot on the back of her shirt, so what we'll do is we'll track that backwards. Let's just make sure that doesn't actually cause any problems. Okay, this was a red flag shot. We're going to take this out of its group and we're going to just copy this across. Let's see what else we might be able to do here. It's a very quick shot, so I think that probably solves our problems there. So we'll just get rid of that flag. We'll get rid of the flag here as well. Now let's just take a look. Her skin looks quite warm and quite saturated there. We might just be tempted to take it down a bit. Okay, and these are totally different. So these look okay. They're a little bit... we can just push it a bit further towards green. Okay, these require some real work. We're not going too badly now. We're about 40 odd minutes. And we're getting there. We're getting there at a decent pace for our second pass, which gives us plenty of time to go through on third pass and get things sorted. So let's just find out where I actually am. Don't lose your place whilst working, which is good advice. Okay, these look completely different. These are a bit off. Yeah, because we've got DNX, compound and red, so we've got two different kinds of footage to deal with there. Let's just work on this first, because what we don't want in the space of a cut is for this region back here to go all red and orange. I wonder... Nope. Worth a try, but no. Okay, let's just grade this properly then, from scratch. Okay, we've got some kind of weird greenness going on in that kind of jacket there, which is not ideal. In fact, we've got some kind of odd green glowing stuff, which probably came about as a result of the transcode. So what we're going to do, we're going to use our hue v hue, which is because we've got that weird green pattern on the right hand side of the scarecrow here. We're going to drag that up and we're going to make it more like a red orange color, and that just, you know, tackles that kind of weird green effect there. Now we've got some kind of reddy purple in the hair, which we're just going to deal with. We'll turn that down and we might just make that a little bit cyan there, which just handles that kind of magenta push down there. So we had a few more primaries to do there, but now our primary phase is done. We can move on to the fun stuff. So let's just make sure that we're getting our... Yeah, that's fine. That can be a little bit brighter and we can bring that down. Cool. So now what we need to do, we just need to make our kind of blue background. And we don't have to push this background very far. Let's just take a still, we can use that for comparison. So okay, that's a pretty good match now. Then we just want to make sure that we get the warm color contrast here again. There we go, now we're getting that kind of look again. And it's becoming a decent analogue for the other shots. There's a bit of green down there, and there's a bit of a weirdness up there. We're going to need to use a second layer. And I just want to take care of that highlight up there in this one. Now we've got that highlight, and now we've just plugged that gap in our mask up there. Let's just bring this up. That now looks like a pretty good match. I'm going to save. This one should just take a straight copy over. There she is. Yeah, it's going to be very different because that's DNxHR and this is R3D. So matching these two together is going to be a challenge. Okay, first things first, we need a little bit more green cyan in our background. We need to watch out, we're getting very odd greenness here. Okay. We're getting a different distribution of contrast here as well. What we probably want to do is bring that up, bring that down. That's fine. In our basic balance, we probably want to be a little bit more. There we go. And now we just need to finesse this key. I probably want more of the scarecrow to show up because it helps get rid of that annoying green tinge his jacket picks up. Let's just watch this through. Okay, there's still a little bit of a change. Bonk. Okay, and it still seems to be lacking in contrast there, so we're gonna... So it makes a jump cut between two different camera formats very difficult to do properly. Okay, that's getting a bit better, but it's still a little bit off. Maybe the... Okay, and what I might just do to begin with is go here, and then we're gonna get the green. There we go. We're just going to do the same old green rotation trick, and that's going to take care of the green in our scarecrow's jacket there, which is much better. So, you might need a little bit more of that. There we go. Cool. Let's take a look at this sequence now. Bonk, push. Okay, there's still just a little bit. I think it might be saturation, actually. Let's just turn the sat up here a little bit. And there's just still a little bit more. Push. There we go, that's good. Okay, we've got these angles to deal with now. Now the keying here isn't great. So these I can now clear and green flag. These shots I'm happy with. I'm going to green flag these. That one's fine. I'm going to clear that and put a green flag back on there. He's still okay. But let's just watch it through, make sure we're okay with that. That shot is fine. That's a good match. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. That's good. Okay, I'm happy with all that. A little bit of an extra polish in the third pass, maybe. This one has some shirt stuff. Actually, because it's by the blood, I think that's actually okay. That's fine, because we went back and we fixed that. Flag's green. Okay, and then it's these angles, because we're getting green hair. Some issues here. So I've actually gone ahead and talked for about 51 minutes on this one. I may as well go ahead and talk for the rest of it, because this is much more in depth. This is more, you know, active problem solving. We can just go back along all these green flags and we're pretty happy so far. There's a yellow flag back here. Yep, that's for third pass. Right. Let's keep going. And that's this angle, isn't it? If we remember that reference from the Beyonce music video, we did see spill and all that in the background. We're going to try and avoid that here, because we don't get away with things being that stylized, but I think that's pretty strong. And then she's there. Okay, and then we can fix that just by copying across, and away we go. There's a little bit pink, the skin here, so what I might just do is with a hue v hue, just forget that on that shot. Still seems somehow... It's a pretty good match, actually. Oh no, there we go. What we might just do... I need to be careful there. Okay, I might just put a yellow flag on that, come back to it in the third pass. These two are now okay. Okay, that's mostly good, although it does go a little bit green on this shot, so what we're going to do is we're just going to push it a little bit more towards the blue that we've established. When you're making a color contrast look, it's very easy to kind of seesaw between blue and green. Right, so we're approaching 2 hours in total now. We've still got a good 2 hours left to finish this. I might not spend the full 4 hours on it, but that's a good goal to aim for. These shots came out reasonably nicely. I just need to take care of how pink he is there. And there aren't too many shots left, so let's keep going. Let's just see how well those two cut together now. Bonk. Cool. Right, some of these are getting a little bit green as opposed to blue, so I'm just going to bring them up a little bit closer to the blue we've established. There we go. That's more like it. Let's just watch these through, make sure we don't spot any errors. Okay, on this one, there's a few pink splotches on the dot. Actually, they're not within the key, so fair enough. It's just reflection from skin. That one's very blue. We might just nudge that one a little bit back towards green. Okay, that all looks good to me. A nice choppy action cutting there. The evil scarecrows. They're not zombies, they're actually scarecrows. They're filled with hay and everything. Okay, we have some issues with the fluttering around the shirt there. Let's just see what we can do. It's a very quick shot, so we don't have to worry too much. but we want to try and we want to avoid making it obvious, and I think that's fine. This shot's good, a little bit green when it should be bluer. I think that fixes it. Okay, this shot was a problem. There's all kinds of dancing weirdness going on the back of his shirt there. So these shots, I will go back and I will green flag. We're going to watch the whole thing through again in the third pass, and yet again when we sign off on third pass, so plenty of time. Right, we need to do some work on this one. Oh, that was easy. And we might just not go overboard with that one. That's good enough. You get the message, and no mistakes are too evident. So we watch that through. Cool. So now it's this sequence here, and then the end. So we've had pretty much the same amount of time in the second pass as the first, but we've gone through and solved a lot of problems. We're going to go through in the third pass, we're going to give it even more polish, we're going to watch it through, pick out little things we want to correct, and then do any last bits of vignetting we need. Should bring the lecture time on this down to up to about 2 hours 30, maybe 2:45, which is briefer than the others, but then again, this is about working at pace. This is about, efficiently dealing with large quantities of footage and producing a good enough quality output. We don't always have the time and the luxury of time to go in and spend hours and hours getting all the details perfect. So this is a good exercise in how we might approach a larger project. So now we're up to this sequence. Now for the most part, this is pretty good. What I need to do is take care of how pink Pewdie is getting here. I've completely forgotten the name of that actor, which is not very professional. But that's a simple curve. Just to make sure. Now we do have some brightness issues going from one to the next, and that's because the lighting in this location is quite difficult. We'll just do our best to level that out. There's some odd shadow stuff going on in here. I'm going to get the Hue V or the Luma V sat curve out, and I'm just going to bring it down. And we'll just okay, cool. And we'll just keep going, just make sure that, there we go, his skin tone is consistent throughout. He's not gone pink all of a sudden. Going in for the killing shot, and that was very dark. Let's see if we can bring that up a bit. Okay, then going down. Bonk. Okay, we've got a few keying errors here we can take care of. I think that's probably okay because the background is quite blue. There are some keying errors here, but it's a very fast shot. What we could alternatively do is just make sure that the whole shirt is in there, but that makes it worse, so let's not do that. That's such a fast shot, I don't think you even see what's going on there. Okay, let's start this shot again, because it's very flat and it's very dark, so it's going to be very, very dark all the time. And I might just be tempted to leave it at that and then rotate the pink back to yellow. Actually, that might be a good workaround. And then we'll bring the reds and the yellows up. Let's just watch that properly. Oh, he's got hay fever. I know how he feels. I have terrible hay fever. Completely ruins the summer every year. If there's hay inside the scarecrow, it spills out and he has an allergic reaction. Then there's another scarecrow that punches his skateboard in half. He's just looking a little bit pink in that last shot of the skateboard. So I will just rotate the pink a little bit. Cool. So let's just take a look at how these two come together. I think the blacks might be a little bit elevated there. Okay, the last cut we have. Okay, that one's a bit elevated, and we could do a better job of balancing out those shadows. They're a bit... And this one's also a bit saturated as well. Okay, that last little bit there, I think we can leave up to the third pass. Everything else, I'm going to give a green flag. Excellent. Cool, so we're getting there now. We've got a third pass, we've got some minor details to go through and sort out. We've got a little bit of tracking and vignetting here to bring out this guy's eyes. Other than that, this is looking pretty solid now. So... excellent, we'll go and take a look at the third pass. Right. Click on through to the next lecture once you're ready.